Stocks trend upward today as people start spending their stimulus checks. Wuhan may raise its death toll up by 50%. We'll talk a bit about why. Wisconsin extends its stay at home order until the end of May. And the New Yorker makes a case for Elizabeth Warren as Joe Biden's vice presidential pick. Plus, we will take some time and thank everybody who chatted in the live chat throughout this past week. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Guys, if they don't open up the barbershops soon, I'm going to have to go and get myself an illicit bootleg haircut because, yeah, this is starting to get a little bit unmanageable up here in the front. But thanks everybody for coming by. I am Jay Edgar. This is Contemporary. We have a ton to get to today and not a lot of time to get there. So we're going to go right down through the news and we're going to sit back and thank everybody who came and talked in the live chat today. But first, make sure you head on over to freedomscoop.com where you can check out a lot of great shows. The Generational Gap will be doing their regular podcast tonight, so go ahead and check that out over there. You can find Stephen Ignoramus almost every single day, streaming for 3 or 4 or 6 or 7 or 10 hours at a time. You can go check him out over there. Wyatt Birkenhoff is setting up a schedule and doing some philosophy-related stuff. You can check him out. The R-Rated Conservative is a 5-day-a-week show now, so go check that out as well. And coming soon, we just added Freckles and Britt to our lineup, so go and check them out over there too. They're a great sub, they're a great channel to watch, so go and check them out. Starting today, though, with Investors Business Daily, our daily look at the stock market for the week. Dow Jones leads early futures rally. Gilead's COVID treatment tests positive. Boeing, Disney spike. This is from Alan R. Elliott. Stock futures cocked the trigger for an early surge Friday as markets in Europe rallied hard and Gilead Sciences spiked on positive news regarding a possible COVID-19 treatment. You mean other than hydroxychloroquine? The coronavirus pandemic showed another sharp increase in the number of deaths reported, but earnings news and the news on Gilead helped boost optimism towards restarting the economy. Boeing and Walt Disney spiked to head the Dow Jones today. Dow Jones futures rumbled 3% higher while S&P 500 futures sailed 2.6% above fair value. NASDAQ 100 futures climbed 1.8%, held back by early declines from Activision Blizzard, Citrix Systems, and the stock market today. Gilead Sciences spiked up to the top of the NASDAQ 100, up nearly 12%, after a report late Thursday indicated positive results from the company's remdesivir treatment of COVID-19 patients in Chicago. On the S&P 500, shopping center REIT Macquarie, I don't know how to pronounce that, outpaced Gilead, soaring nearly 14%. Simon Property Group and Darden Restaurants each vaulted more than 10% higher. So property sales and rentals are going up, and people can go eat or at least get takeout from the Olive Garden again. In earnings news, financials were rallying. Citizens Financial Group rocketed nearly 8% higher after its first quarter report. India-based HDFC Bank rumbled 6% higher on its results. Oilfield services giant Schlumberger rallied more than 5%, aiming to take back a piece of its 14% dive for the week through Thursday. The coronavirus stock market rally is in effect, but should still be approached with a healthy dose of caution. The market's confirmed uptrends opens the door for investors to buy well-vetted stock leaders, passing valid buy points. Among stocks that cleared buy points on Thursday, Microsoft, Abbott Labs rose more than 1% apiece on Friday's pre-market trade. Sea Limited jumped 2.9%. China-based JD.com and NetEase posted pre-market gains in the 2% range. Sea Limited, is that like Sealand where, what's his name? John from the Generational Gap, is he a lord over there? I don't know. He's got some sort of nobility over for Sealand down by Florida. So go and check that out over there. One more section here. Boeing jetted more than 11% higher after announcing late Thursday plans to resume production at its Puget Sound region facilities beginning next week. The restart would involve approximately 27,000 workers in all commercial aircraft models, including the 737 MAX. The aerospace giant said 2,500 workers in its defense-related operations returned to work earlier this week. Boeing's South Carolina facilities remain closed. So, there you go. That no-bid contract is kicking in, and that's why their stock is going up. All right, let's look at what CNBC has to say, which is also positive news. Stocks are set to rally on hope for an effective coronavirus treatment. Dow futures rise 700 points. This is from Fred Imbert. U.S. stock futures surged after a report said a Gilead Sciences drug showed some effectiveness in treating the coronavirus, giving investors some hope there could be a treatment solution that helps the country reopen faster from the widespread shutdowns that have plunged the economy into a recession. Dow Jones Industrial Average Futures jumped 789 points, indicating an opening gain of 777 points. S&P 500 futures rose 2.9%. NASDAQ 100 futures climbed 2%. The NASDAQ 100 broke into positive territory for the year on Thursday. The pre-market moves put the S&P 500 on track for its first back-to-back weekly gains since early February. Through Thursday's close, the S&P 500 has risen 0.35%, while the NASDAQ Composite climbed 4.65%, lifted by double-digit gains on Amazon and Netflix. The 30-stock Dow was down about 0.7% this week through Thursday, dragged down by JP Morgan as interest rates tumbled. A jump in Boeing shares and a rollout Thursday evening of the White House plan to reopen the economy also added to the bullish tone on Friday. Gilead shares jumped more than 13% in pre-market trading after Stat News reported that a Chicago hospital treating coronavirus patients with remdesivir in a trial were recovering rapidly from severe symptoms. The publication cited a video it obtained where trial results were discussed. An effective treatment is a huge deal and would create a path to open the economy and resume normal social activities way sooner than a vaccine, said Tom Lee, head of a research at Fundstrat Global Advisors. A treatment is safer and more scalable because it's only given to people who need to be treated. And, it doesn't have RFID in the needle. Sorry, Susan WikiWiki. All right, let's go on to some other news that we have here. Looking at the stimulus checks that I cited for some of the rally here, the IRS is sending $1,200 stimulus checks to dead people. This is from MarketWatch from Andrew Keshner. More than 80 million Americans are expected to get their stimulus money this week, according to the Treasury Department. Many Americans are eagerly anticipating stimulus checks of up to $1,200 starting this week, but in a few cases the recipients won't be celebrating because they're dead. The IRS began distributing $290 billion in direct cash payments within the past week as a part of a $2 trillion CARES Act stimulus bill, and anecdotes are already surfacing about the IRS issuing money to the deceased. Representative Thomas Massie, a Republican from Kentucky, said Wednesday a friend texted him to say his father, dead since 2018, just received his $1,200 stimulus money. Okay, this is insane. Just the tip of the iceberg. This is a direct text to me from a friend. I called him to confirm this actually just happened. And then the text message says, Dad got his stimulus check of $1,200. He died in 2018. Does he have to spend it online? With a facepalm emoji. The legislator became the target of bipartisan scorn late last month when he unsuccessfully asked for a roll call vote on the stimulus bill. He noted his friend filed the father's taxes for 2018. In Florida, tax preparer Adam Markowitz has also seen examples among his clientele of the IRS sending stimulus money to dead people this week. He declined to go into more specifics to protect his client's privacy. What's more, it appears the survivors can keep the money, Markowitz and other tax experts told MarketWatch. So I could see that to an extent, and I've been very clear about the fact that I do not intend to keep my stimulus check. I am going to send it back because it is coming out of thin air, and there's no fiat to back it currently. So we're not going to inflate the currency on my behalf. It's principled, and I think it's the right thing to do. However, I've always said that if you're starving to death, you need to eat it. But the Common Sense American over on the audio platforms, go and check his show out, did have a very good take as to why they're doing this and why even I should consider taking this and keeping this, because this is not a socialist redistribution of wealth. This is a cash stimulus meant to get you out there and spending. This wasn't meant to be spent on rent or bills or anything else. This was meant to get you out there and spending money to get people back to work to make the stuff for you to spend the money on. So I could see why they're saying the survivors can keep the stimulus as well, because that gets the money back out there. They've already budgeted for it. It gets the money out there and it gets people spending the money again. So it's hit or miss on this. Like, to me, I still see this as an inflationary spending without any fiat to back it, but I understand the reasoning behind it as well. Go check out the Common Sense American over on the audio platforms. He has a really, really good take on this. All right, now for the title card. Chinese epicenter Wuhan raises number of virus dead by about 50%. China raised Wuhan's coronavirus death toll by nearly 50% Friday following weeks of allegations that officials were underreporting the numbers to make the situation look better than it actually was. This is from Greg Norman over at Fox News. The city where the coronavirus outbreak is believed to have originated is now reporting 3,869 deaths after adding 1,290 to its previously announced figure. Numbers of total cases in the city of 11 million were also raised by 325 to 50,333, accounting for about two-thirds China's total 82,367 cases. Oh, bullshit! Sorry, I had something in my throat there. Chinese state media claimed Friday that the reason for the sudden leap was that medical facilities were overwhelmed during the peak of the outbreak. Because of that, belated, missed, and mistaken reporting occurred. Or you covered the shit up. Due to the insufficiency in admission and treatment capability, a few medical institutions failed to connect with the disease prevention and control system in time. While hospitals were overloaded and medics were overwhelmed with patients, the official Xinhua news agency reported attributing the comments to an unidentified official with Wuhan's Epidemic and Prevention and Control Headquarters. The new figures were compiled through a comparison of data from Wuhan's Epidemic Prevention and Control Big Data System, the city's funeral service system, the Municipal Hospital Authority's information system, and nucleic acid test system to remove double-counted cases and fill in missed cases, the mystery official said. That was a mouthful. The new numbers Friday were not a surprise to critics, though. Well. After repeatedly defending the accuracy of their data, Chinese officials revised the coronavirus death toll in Wuhan, tweeted Senator John Cornyn of Texas. And Wuhan residents have been saying for weeks that the numbers coming out of the city just didn't add up. In late March, they told Radio Free Asia that Beijing's claims that there were only 2,500 deaths in Wuhan is far from reality. For more than a week, 7 large funeral homes that serve Wuhan reportedly had been handing out the cremated remains of about 500 people to their families every day. It can't be right because the incinerators have been working around the clock, so how can so few people have died, said Zhang, a Wuhan resident who only gave Radio Free Asia his last name. They started distributing ashes and started interment ceremonies on Monday. There have also been claims of city officials paying off families in exchange for their silence. There have been lots of funerals in the past few days, and the authorities are handing out 3,000 yuan in hush money to families who get their loved ones' remains laid to rest ahead of Qingming. Wuhan resident Chen Yahaoui had said, It's to stop them keeping a traditional expression of grief. Nobody's allowed to keen after the festival Qingming has passed. I bet you that number is way up. That still doesn't add up to numbers for me. So, we're going to keep watching this story as we go along and see if possibly there's some more that come out of it. Moving on. FBI says state hackers have broken into U.S. coronavirus research. Report. This is from David Arrow over at Fox News. Hackers from foreign governments, ooh, I wonder if it's Russia, have broken into U.S. companies conducting research into COVID-19 treatment in the nation's healthcare sector, an FBI official said. FBI Deputy Assistant Director Tonya Ugoretz told participants in an online panel discussion on Thursday that the Bureau has been state-backed hackers. The Bureau has seen state-backed hackers looking at a series of healthcare and research institutions, Reuters reported. She didn't specify what countries backed the hackers or what organizations were targeted. It's Russian collusion, I say. Trump is working with Russia to change the numbers and prepare for another 5 years of that shit. We certainly have seen reconnaissance activity and some intrusions into some of those institutions, especially those that have publicly identified themselves as working on COVID-related research, Ugoretz said, according to Reuters. She said that hackers routinely have their sights set on biopharmaceutical industry, but their activity is usually increased during a crisis like the coronavirus pandemic. Ugoretz said, as institutions publicize certain treatments of the vaccine they're working on, it leaves them vulnerable to attacks. The sad flip side is that it kind of makes them a mark for other nation states that are interested in gleaning details about what exactly they're doing, maybe even stealing proprietary information that those institutions have, she added, according to the news organization. Bill Evanina, the director of National Counterintelligence and Security Center, said now is the time for institutions to be aware of attacks on their research that could be crucial in the battle against COVID-19. Medical research organizations and those who work for them should be vigilant against threat actors seeking to steal intellectual property or other sensitive data related to Americans' response to COVID-19 pandemic, he added, according to Reuters. It's the Russians. It's hacking. It's state-sponsored actors. It's whatever catering industry serves Vladimir Putin. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that shit. On other news, Lindsey Graham meets Joy Behar's challenge to name 3 things Trump did right on coronavirus. This is from Sam Dorman. Senator Lindsey Graham defended President Trump on Thursday as The View co-host Joy Behar challenged him to name 3 things the president did right during the coronavirus pandemic. I thought I muted that. That's lame. Give me 1 second. I apologize for that. That is completely unprofessional. There, it's muted now. The first thing he did, Graham said, was on, I think, January 31st, stop travel from China. The Chinese are the bad guy here if you're looking for a bad guy. COVID cough. Graham added that the China travel restriction probably saved a lot of heartache, saying that move, along with subsequent restrictions on European travel and declaring a national emergency, flattened the curve. Graham admitted that the U.S. was struggling with testing, but he said that he can't really blame the president for that. Behar also asked Graham about Trump's decision to halt funding to the World Health Organization. Graham, a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, said he wanted to see a change in leadership as he had lost confidence in the Global Health Agency. I think they conspired with China to downplay the nature of the virus, that they reported all through January there was no evidence of human-to-human transmission, he said. The money that's being suspended will go to other people throughout the world to deal with health issues. I thought there were going to be 3 things. Damn it, Fox, you lied to me. All right, now let's talk about the rent crisis, because we talked a bunch about that at the first of the month, and we're halfway to another first of the month here. So this is from BuzzFeed News, and this was brought to me via Brit from Freckles and Brit. Landlords are allegedly asking for sex from tenants who can't afford to pay rent right now. This is from Amber Jamieson, a BuzzFeed News reporter. So, I just want everybody to know this has been going on for as long as there's been rental property. It's just being publicized now because, ooh, we got to demonize the landlords because they won't just cancel rent payments because fuck their mortgage or whatever the hell. Let's read what they have to say. One woman, unable to pay her April 1st rent after losing her income due to the coronavirus crisis, said she texted a prospective landlord inquiring about a more affordable property. He responded with a dick pic. Another newly unemployed woman said she asked her landlord if she could pay her April rent once she had work again. He replied telling her she could come over and spoon him instead. These are just 2 of the 10 complaints of sexual harassment by landlords filed with the it's Hawaii. Why am I not surprised it's out of Hawaii? Filed with the Hawaii State Commission on the status of women since the COVID-19 outbreak began. We've received more cases at our office in the last 2 days than we have in the last 2 years. Kara Jabola Karolis, the executive director of the commission, told BuzzFeed News in a phone interview last week. Nearly 17 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits since the forced government shutdowns to combat the coronavirus outbreak began last month. Nearly 1/3 of Americans did not pay their April rent within the first 5 days of the month. And now some landlords are allegedly using the crisis as an opportunity to sexually harass vulnerable tenants struggling to afford rent. We've seen an uptick in sexual harassment, said Cheryl Ring, the legal director at Open Communities, a legal aid and fair housing agency just north of Chicago. Ring said her organization has seen a 3-fold increase in sexual harassment complaints related to housing last month. Since this started, they, landlords, have been taking advantage of the financial hardships of many of their tenants, many of their tenants have, in order to coerce their tenants into a sex for rent agreement, which is absolutely illegal but has been happening as long as there's been rent property. Ring didn't say that last part. I just wanted to point that out. This has been something that's been ongoing for a very, very, very long time. But it's only being publicized because landlords are being publicly shamed at this point. So, this is from Jessica Green over on the Discord server. Chicago police setting up checkpoints to remind people of stay-at-home order, raising concerns of union and ACLU. This is from Peter Nikias over at the Chicago Tribune. Chicago police are setting up checkpoints throughout the city, both to remind people about the statewide stay-at-home order during the coronavirus outbreak and to show a strong police presence in areas hit by violence. Those are some scary-ass words. A department memo obtained by the Tribune calls them a seatbelt safety and informational checkpoints, and adds, the goal of this mission is to engage the community in a positive and informative manner while providing a visible police presence in areas affected by violence. Each of the city's 22 patrol districts is to have 1 checkpoint each day staffed by a supervisor and an unspecified number of officers, according to the memo. Any officer interacting with any occupants of a vehicle will don a mask and gloves, according to the memo. Each checkpoint will last up to an hour. The Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 7, which represents rank-and-file police officers, said the checkpoints conflict with the union's guidance that officers only be engaged with the public when they have to. We do not need unnecessary exposure, said FOP Lodge 7 President Kevin Graham. He acknowledged the department was responding to an uptick in shootings, but said it's unlikely the checkpoints would act as a deterrent because those engaged in violence would try to avoid a checkpoint. Obviously. Usually, people are on their way home from work. There are still people out there providing necessary functions. Who are the people we're stopping then? He asked. Are we stopping some poor nurse on her way home after a 12-hour shift? Yes. Or are we stopping a hardened criminal? Not likely. I think most people just want to get home. I think most people don't want any interaction with anybody. It puts an undue danger on the officers, Graham said. I'm not one to shy away from police work, but at this particular time, it doesn't seem like it's a reasonable thing to do. So, in other news, Chicago has just given a giant middle finger to the Fourth Amendment. So, I hope you guys enjoy that over there, and you can keep that shit down there. We don't need to bring that up into Wisconsin for any reason at all. But yeah, that's and checkpoints too. That's just a Fourth Amendment bypass at that point. The same with the seatbelt stop. And I discussed that with Jessica in the Discord server. So, yeah, if you want to get around the Fourth Amendment, just set up that checkpoint and bring people through. And like he said, the people that are criminals are going to know how to avoid that. The other article that came to me from Jessica Green, this is from Bleacher Report. Dr. Anthony Fauci. Sports will only return this summer if fans are banned. This is from Tim Daniels. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the longtime director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said Tuesday the only path for sports to return this summer includes no fans in attendance and players being kept in quarantine for the duration of their seasons. Fauci, an advisor to President Donald Trump, laid the groundwork for a potential return to play amid the coronavirus pandemic during an interview with Peter Hamby of Snap Originals via ESPN. There's a way of doing that, he said. Nobody comes to the stadium. Put the players in big hotels. Wherever you want to play, keep them very well surveilled. That's something you never want to hear from a government agent. Have them tested every single week. I stand corrected. That's something you never want to hear from a government agent. And make sure they don't wind up infecting each other and their family. Just let them play the season out. Trump announced Tuesday he's included several notable sports figures on his advisory panel that will attempt to figure out how to jumpstart an economy hurt by COVID-19 without creating additional health risks. Here's the group. Adam Silver, NBA Commissioner. Roger Goodell, NFL Commissioner. Gary Bettman, NHL Commissioner. Robert Manfred, MLB Commissioner. Jay Monahan, PGA Tour Commissioner. Dana White, UFC President. Lisa France Kennedy, NASCAR CEO. Jerry Jones, Dallas Cowboys owner. Mark Cuban, Dallas Mavericks owner. Robert Kraft, New England Patriots owner. We have to get our sports back. I'm tired of watching baseball games that are 14 years old, Trump said. But I haven't actually had too much time to watch. I would say maybe I watch one batter, and then I get back to work. In March, Silver told ESPN's Rachel Nichols that NBA was trying to find a safe way to play to help fans make it through a period of quarantine and social distancing. Because people are stuck at home, I think they need a diversion, he said. They need to be entertained. Ken Rosenthal and Evan Drellick of The Athletic reported Tuesday that MLB continues to research its Arizona plan, which would see the league's 30 clubs stationed in the state so it could start the 2020 season while waiting to see whether more widespread play is possible this year. So they're kind of going on the idea that the heat and the warm weather kill the virus, which there seems to be a lot of evidence of. I've heard some of the biology of it, that the coronaviruses are encased in a fatty capsule, which the heat will melt. So I don't know. I'm not a biologist. I was more of a physics kind of guy when I was in high school. So I don't know the exact science behind the biology of it, but it sounds good. The NFL has moved its draft to virtual format and indefinitely delayed in-person team workouts, but the offseason has continued to keep the door open to start the season as scheduled in September. All major American sports have been halted since mid-March because of the pandemic. And of course, Chancellor Fauci is going to be the one that makes the decision on this, not anybody else, and we are not free to make this decision of risk for our own selves. Alright, let's see what the Daily Wire has to say. That's always entertaining. From the Daily Wire, Dr. Phil, lockdown could eventually create more destruction, death than the coronavirus. This is from Daily Wire News. Dr. Phil McGraw joined Fox News host Laura Ingraham on Thursday during a web-exclusive broadcast to discuss the larger impact of the economic shutdown from the coronavirus. This is invisible. I can't show you an x-ray. I can't show you an x-ray of anxiety. But the fact of the matter is, the longer this lockdown goes on, the more vulnerable people get. And it's like there's a tipping point, McGraw said. There's a point at which people start having enough problems in lockdown that it will create more destruction and actually more death across the time than the actual virus will itself. 250 people a year die from poverty, and the poverty line is getting such that more and more people are going to fall below that because the economy is crashing around us. And they're doing that because people are dying from the coronavirus. I get that. McGraw continued. But look, the fact of the matter is, we have people dying. 45,000 people a year die from automobile accidents, 480,000 from cigarettes, 360,000 a year from swimming pools. But we don't shut down the country for that. But yet we're doing it, and the fallout is going to last for years because people's lives are being destroyed. A quick fact check of McGraw's numbers showed that he was accurate on the smoking numbers. He was pretty close on the car accident numbers, and was only a few thousand too high, and he was significantly off on the drowning numbers, as approximately 3,500 people drown in the U.S. per year. However, globally, 32,000 people drown per year, or 320,000 rather people drown per year. So when Dr. Phil is telling you that you've been putting this off too long, I'm sorry you've been putting this off too long. All right. So this is going to be local for me, and hopefully some other people will see this locally as well. Governor Evers directs DHS to extend Wisconsin's safer at home order. Governor Tony Evers today directed Wisconsin Department of Health Services Secretary-designee Andrea Palm to extend the safer at home order from April 24, 2020 to 8 a.m. Tuesday, May 26, 2020, or until a superseding order is issued. The order implements some new measures to ensure safety and support the progress we've made in containing COVID-19, but also allows certain activities to start up again. The order is available here. So I'm not going to read through this whole thing because, well, to be fair, I can't stand Tony Evers, but he has put on some, he's told the people what they can do business with and what they can't. I don't know who elected him God Emperor of Wisconsin. He's merely a law enforcement agent, but, you know, some people think we elected Trump God Emperor of the U.S. too, and he is also just a law enforcement agent. But let's see what he has to say. Businesses and activities ramping up service and operations. Public libraries may now provide curbside pickup of books and other library materials. Golf courses may open again with restrictions including scheduling and paying for tee times online or by phone only. Clubhouses and pro shops must remain closed. So you can go golfing, which that is kind of... It's funny that he actually listened to some reason in some of that because, I mean, what's more socially distant than golfing? Non-essential businesses will now be able to do more things as minimum basic operations, including deliveries, mailings, and curbside pickup. Non-essential businesses must notify workers of whether they are necessary for the minimum basic operations. Arts and craft stores may offer expanded curbside pickup of materials necessary to make face masks or other personal protective equipment. You can't have anything else out of there, but if you can sell materials for face masks. Aesthetic or optional service or optional exterior lawn care or construction is now allowed under the extended order, so as long as it can be done by one person. So we can't build any more buildings right now, but hey, if you want to contract and put somebody's patio up by yourself, hey, go ahead, go at it. And here are the safe business practices. Essential businesses and operations must increase cleaning and disinfection processes, ensure that only necessary workers are present, and adopt policies to prevent workers exposed to COVID-19 or symptomatic workers from coming to work. Retail stores that remain open to the public as essential businesses and operations must limit the number of people in the store at one time, must provide proper spacing for people waiting to enter, and large stores must offer at least 2 hours per week of dedicated shopping time for vulnerable populations. Essential businesses and operations that are essential because they supply, manufacture, or distribute goods and services to other essential businesses and operations can only continue operations that are necessary to those businesses they supply. All other operations must continue as minimum basic operations. Other changes include schools. Public and private K-12 schools will remain closed for the remainder of the 2019-2020 school year. Local health officials may close public parks and open spaces if it becomes too difficult to ensure social distancing or the areas being mistreated. People are strongly encouraged to stay close to home, not travel to second homes or cabins, and not to travel out of state if it is not necessary. Tribal nations are sovereign over their territory and can impose their own restrictions. Non-tribal members should be respectful and avoid non-essential travel to tribal territory. Local governments must coordinate, collaborate, and share information with the tribal nations. The changes in this order go into effect April 24, 2020. The order will remain in effect until 8 a.m. on May 26, 2020. So, we just got a little bit more draconian for a lot longer here, and their people are not happy about it. There was a Change.org petition here that I've got up here. It was closed, which I have not found out why, and I'm going to be investigating as to why this particular petition was closed. But it closed at 42,784 signatures, and that had to be only like an hour or so after I looked at it last, because it was zooming up to 30,000 in a hurry the last time I looked at it. So they're getting ready, because this is draconian. I'm sure another one's going to start. I might start another one up at this point, because it's time. It's time. This is draconian, and it's time to get this guy out of there. To be completely clear on this, to petition a recall, we need 25% of the total votes that the candidate received in the last election, which would be roughly 331,000 signatures. So it's not a huge margin to get by either, especially if this is going to remain draconian in the way that it is. And I do need to figure out why this closed, because it was tearing up. So, from the Daily Wire, Biden, pandemic relief, an opportunity to change the global science relating to global warming in corn pop. Got hairy legs, you know. They turn blonde in the sun. This is also from Daily Wire News. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden told CNN's Anderson Cooper and Sanjay Gupta on Thursday night that the U.S. federal government's economic recovery package was an opportunity to fundamentally change the science relating to global warming. I thought it was climate change. One of the things that I think What is this? One of the things that I think we keep coming back to, and I've spent this morning talking to docs I used to work with, Sanjay in our last administration, heads of other entities that, gets down there to testing. It's about testing, tracing, and treatment, Biden said. And so, we're way behind on the testing piece, and I don't quite understand why we're taking so long to do the kind of things that have to be done. They actually transcribed his vocal tics. That's kind of funny. You know, during World War II, where Roosevelt came up with a thing that was totally different than he called it, the World War II. He had the War Production Board, Biden continued. I don't know why we don't set up something like that, like a pandemic production board. They actually transcribed in the Daily Wire Biden's vocal tics. I'm not doing that for effect. That's actually transcribed in here. Biden later said that minimum wages should go up and that there should be other widespread changes to deal with the systemic racism that exists, and the systemic way in which we treat people who have not had the opportunity to get educated the way they're entitled to. One last thing. Look, Anderson, you and I have talked about this, Biden said. We have an opportunity now to take a recovery act, a real recovery, We can fundamentally change the science related to global warming, and we can seriously create 10 million good paying jobs. We can do it. It's within our power to do that. So, yeah. And he's not even hiding the ball anymore. The Green New Deal and everything that's associated with it is nothing but redistribution. But yeah, that's interesting to see. And yes, he was on CNN and he did his vocal tics. And yeah, I didn't make any of that up. That was all transcribed right in here. We're gonna earmark this one. This one's going in the Discord so you guys can read it for yourself. It's pretty funny. All right. So I said that I was going to look into what the adjournment meant, and I did look into that. And Fox News actually did a much better job of explaining it than Daily Wire did yesterday. So, clash on appointments brews as Trump threatens to invoke little known power to adjourn Congress. This is from Tyler Olson over at Fox News. A clash over appointments to the executive agencies is brewing after President Trump threatened to invoke an obscure constitutional power to adjourn both chambers of Congress under certain circumstances as a way to allow himself to make recess appointments, filling vacancies in jobs he says are needed to help fight the coronavirus without the advice and consent of the Senate. Presidents have the power under the U.S. Constitution to temporarily fill vacancies while the Senate is out of session, but the body holds what are called pro forma sessions, very brief meetings with skeleton crew that happens when the body is not taking care of legislative business in order to remain in session, thus blocking recess appointments. Trump wants to use that power to fill vacancies in executive agencies that have been largely neglected by the Senate, focused mainly on lifetime judicial appointments. We have a tremendous number of people that have come into government, and now more so than ever. Those are scary fucking words, too. Because of the virus and the problem, Trump said in remarks at the White House on Wednesday. Former President Obama received a Supreme Court rebuke when he tried to test the constitutionality of conducting recess appointments when the Senate is running pro forma sessions, with the Supreme Court declaring that only the Senate can decide when it is in session and when it is not. But Article 2, Section 3 of the Constitution gives the President the power to adjourn Congress to such a time he shall think proper. When the House and Senate cannot agree when to adjourn, Trump said the Senate should stop conducting its pro forma sessions and formally adjourn to allow him to make recess appointments. If the House will not agree to the adjournment, I will exercise my constitutional authority to adjourn both chambers of Congress. The current practice of leaving town while conducting phony pro forma sessions is a dereliction of duty that the American people cannot afford during the crisis. So, I was misunderstood by all of this yesterday when I looked into this, and now that I've read more of this, I understand what's going on. So, I thought when he said he was going to adjourn Congress, that meant that they were done for the rest of the session and weren't able to do anything else, which made me uneasy. Well, this makes me a little bit uneasy too, but it made me uneasy at the time. What's happening is because certain Senate Democrats are coming in and having session while they're technically out of session, that means that they can block the president making some of these interim appointments, because he can only do that when they're in complete recess. So they're having these little small sessions so that they're technically still in session. And there is a power for the president in Article 2, Section 3, that he can stop all that and he can get them into official recess without these pro forma sessions. So that's what that all means, and I don't really care for a lot of that. I'm not going to lie. But it's in the Constitution, so it's up to the Supreme Court to interpret it as to what it's supposed to mean. And I think that's going to come. We're going to come with an interesting Supreme Court case as to what comes from this, and I bet you it gets really highly publicized. I would bet that if it gets to the Supreme Court, we're all going to hear about it because everybody's going to want to laugh when the Supreme Court kicks Trump down, which I don't know that they're going to do. But it'll be interesting to see. One of the things I've liked about this presidency is the fact that he's challenged everything that was in a gray area to get the Supreme Court to make an official decision on it. So we have a lot fewer things in a gray area and a lot more things that are well defined at this point, and that's something that I really, really like. All right, moving on. This is from the New Yorker. The case for Joe Biden to pick Elizabeth Warren as his running mate. And on Ed's World now, because we know who the presumptive nominee is going to be, we're going to be changing the questions a little bit because there's no field out there for everybody else to pick from. So we are going to talk about different things about the upcoming presidential race. And one of the things that I'm going to start asking my guests is who they think the vice president pick is going to be. Because I think that there are going to be some very, very interesting thoughts on that. But from John Cassidy over at the New Yorker, Senator Elizabeth Warren's endorsement of Joe Biden for president, which came on Wednesday morning, had little of the sturm and drang of the endorsement 2 days prior from Bernie Sanders. It also lacked the fanfare that accompanied Barack Obama's lengthy salutation, my salutation to my good friend Joe Biden, that I've known for so long, and he helped me through my 8 years of president. Hey Michelle, why's the teleprompter not working? But in some ways, the home video that Warren posted on Twitter was the most effective of the three endorsements. When Sanders appeared in a live stream conversation with Biden, it sounded like the digital age equivalent of a battlefield armistice. Two old warriors, or two old balcony Muppets, agreeing to unite against a common foe. Obama's 12-minute video seemed to be almost as much about the former president re-entering the political stage as it was about Biden. By contrast, Warren's message was relatively brief. Her video lasted about 2.5 minutes. Thank God. And it focused primarily on Biden as a person. After mentioning the former vice president's middle-class roots and his long career as a public servant, Warren brought up the personal tragedies that he has endured and said, "These experiences animate the empathy he extends to Americans who are struggling no matter what their story. Empathy matters." Then she went on to the crux of the matter for virtually all Democrats, the overwhelming need to defeat Donald Trump. In this moment of crisis, Warren said, "It is essential that the next president restores America's good faith in good, effective government. We can't afford to let Donald Trump continue to endanger the lives and livelihoods of every American. And that's why I'm proud to endorse Joe Biden as President of the United States." Given Warren's rocky history with Biden, which dates back to a 2005 bankruptcy bill that he supported and she vehemently opposed, she could have left things there. That was pretty much what Sanders did. Or she could have followed Obama's example and talked about the future of the Democratic Party. Instead, she went on to recall how after the Boston Marathon bombings in 2013, Biden spoke movingly at a memorial service in that city. Wow, I kind of want to find that video suddenly. She also spoke about him swearing her in as a U.S. Senator in 2013, when he jokingly referred to the hell she had given him about the bankruptcy bill, but also told her that she would do a great job. "Because that's the thing about Joe. He wants you in the fight," she said. "And when you're in a fight with Joe at your side, you know you have a partner that's committed to getting something good done for this country. Joe Biden is a selfless public servant. He is committed to fight for social, racial, and economic justice. And now it's up to all of us to make Joe Biden the next president of the United States." How to explain such a warm and fulsome endorsement? Despite their political differences, Warren and Biden have a personal connection. Based on that, they are both politicians and fighters. Felicia Wong, the president and CEO of the Roosevelt Institute, an economic policy think tank that has close ties to Warren, told me on Wednesday afternoon, and indeed Biden, in a tweet hailing Warren's endorsement, said, "I'm proud to have the fiercest of fighters, Senator E. Warren at my side." Wong also pointed out that the fact that Biden, since wrapping up the nomination, has shifted towards Warren on a number of policy issues, including bankruptcy reform. "I think that was super important to her, and he moved on it," Wong said. Whatever the circumstances that led to Warren's endorsement, her video reminded me of an argument that a number of commentators have made recently for Biden choosing her as his running mate. As with any VP pick, going with Warren would involve risks and trade-offs, the most obvious of which is that she comes from a part of the country that Biden is virtually sure to carry anyway. But Warren is a national figure rather than a regional one. Yeah, that's part of the problem. And as such would bring a number of big advantages to the ticket. The first, which Elle Kilgore, a Democratic strategist and New York Magazine columnist, has emphasized, is that it would help unify Democrats going into the fall. To be sure, the mere presence of Trump on the ballot is already serving as a powerful centripetal force, but the fact remains that the Democratic Party today is fractious coalition, and much of its progressive wing, which plays a key role in mobilizing support at the local level, has little enthusiasm for Biden. In an interview with Politico on Wednesday, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who supported Sanders during the preliminary, called on Biden to choose a more progressive running mate who, he knows, may push him. Picking Warren would address this issue and would also send a powerful message to the broader American public that, in trying to save the country from Trump, Democrats are willing to overcome their internal rivalries. Biden-Warren would be an emergency leadership ticket for perilous times, Kilgore noted. So, a few things wrong with that statement. A lot of things that are wrong with that statement. First off, Elizabeth Warren is not a progressive. She is an opportunist. She has always been an opportunist. She is politically jumping on. Basically, what she did was she rewrote Sanders' agenda and said, yes, I'm going to do this and I have a vagina. Secondly, up until about 5 minutes ago, she was a Republican. So she is not a progressive. She is not representative of the progressive wing. She is representative of the fact that people think that the president or somebody in politics needs to have a vagina and nothing more. And pretty well, I think, just looking at the numbers of everything, I think that picking Elizabeth Warren would be political suicide at this point. Or, given her ties and her similarities to Hillary Clinton, maybe closer to actual suicide. Alright. Last story that I have here came from Midget B. This will be a little quick hitter here. This is from News Voice. Earth-sized habitable zone planet found 300 light years away, which, given the galactic scale, is actually not that far. It's still something that we're not going to be able to get to anywhere in the near future, but galactically it's really not that far. Researchers have discovered a new Earth-sized planet orbiting a star outside our solar system. The planet, called Kepler 1649c, is around 1.06 times larger than Earth. It is also quite close to its star, orbiting at a distance that means it gets around 75% of the light Earth does from the sun. The planet's star is a red dwarf. It orbits so closely to the star that 1 year is just 19 and a half of our days. And that's it. That's the quick hitter. That's what I was going on about. So yeah, they found an Earth-like planet in the Goldilocks zone. So, and it's relatively close. So maybe our next generation, probably not my generation, but possibly the Zoomers or the generation afterward, may have the technology to go and see this at some point. And like I say, 300 light years is not that far, especially if you have the Star Trek warp drive, because what's 300 light years, like an hour? An hour's worth of travel? That's not bad. Who knows what possible warp drives would be in the future, but if we use the one that Roddenberry imagined for us, it would be an hour. All right. Now comes the best part of the day, because we get to talk about everybody who made the show great for the week. The best part of the week for sure for me. So first we're going to read the names of everybody who was chatting today, and you guys were busy today, so thanks for coming in and talking about that. We have Ron Helton over there, over on D-Live, with the sticker party, of course. Sully Blue is over here. Let's see, who else do we have? I know we saw some other names in there. You guys had a really good conversation going on about being on the road. The Conservative Patriot is here. Thanks for stopping in, checking us out. Jaffer9 is here with the Wonder Woman sticker and the R-Rated Conservative sticker. Thanks for coming in, Jaffer9. Let's see, what else do we have here? Seawall is here. China is lying. I'm in shock. I like that. Roundtable Decision is in here. Oh, Seawall had a comment for me for what I said about John over at Generational Cap. Lord John's days are numbered. The half track boys will strip him of his title. Yeah, we're going to have a showdown at Sealand. Conservative Patriot, we read that one already. Sully Blue over here. And that is it for the day. Let's see if there's anything new. All right, that is it for the day. Let's see who chatted during the week. Going backwards, on Thursday in the chat we had Ron Helton, Sully Blue, the Conservative Patriot, in Roundtable Decision. On Wednesday we had Ron Helton, Sully Blue, and Iyama Fago. Lord John himself was in here having a chat with us. On Tuesday, you guys were definitely busy, and I am pretty excited for that. We had Sully Blue, Mitch McConnell Smuggles Coke. I love that name. Ron Helton, Job for 9 was in here as well with some more stickers and some more conversation. Johnny Davis, who decided to say go Yankees, so I say fuck the Yankees, as obviously pointed out from behind me. And Radiant Tradisha popped in over on Twitch. So thanks for that. On Monday, we had Sully Blue, Stephen Ignoramus was in, Miami 1984 was in, and Blippity Blop stopped by for a moment as well. So thanks everybody who came in and chatted and make this all great. Make sure you come back on Monday for more contemporary. Plus, we will have Ed's World on Monday as well, featuring my good friend Seawall showing up and talking about the news for the week. I'm looking very forward to that. I'm a little nervous for the week after that, though, because I reached out to a couple people and nobody's got back to me yet. So we may have to find another guest for the 27th. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there, of course. I have great friends in the podcasting world who love to help out when I don't have a guest. So we'll check that out. We do have an Ed Talk this Saturday, so a little bit off script and a lot more chat reading. So make sure you get in on the live chat and get your questions in there. It's an hour Q&A, so go ahead and get on in there. That will be at 5:30 Saturday night till 6:30. So come and check us out there, and we might even do some video gaming on Sunday because we are still under lockdown, which means I can't go anywhere. We will see what the day brings because I do need to do a couple errands around the house as well, so we shall see what the day brings. I'm looking forward to spending some time with you anyway, especially with the Ed Talk. That is one of my favorite segments because I get to hear what you guys think as well. So with that, we're going to call it a week. We will see you throughout the weekend and earlier on in the week. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.